I've had lots of great teachers. There. One of my favorite teachers was Mr. Hall in high school. He taught geometry. He said, you can't play the game if you don't know the rules. He meant that about postulates, theorems, right angles, all the things. But I took that to mean laws on all the things that affect our lives. Fast forward, after college, my first job was as a civil rights investigator for state government. At a time where I was trying to figure out what my career path was, I thought focusing on law enforcement of civil rights laws, I was standing on the shoulders of giants who had given their lives, their blood, sweat, and tears to pass landmark legislation. And at the same time, I was struggling because I was in a role where I was adjudicating individual complaints of discrimination, and how was that going to add up to dismantling segregation that, as I learned, was created by racist federal public policy. It wasn't just choice of certain people wanting to live with each other. It was about a system that restricted people's choices to separate them and allow certain people more advantage over others. So I struggled with that role. And at that time, something happened. This was under the Clinton administration. President Clinton nominated to the role of Assistant Attorney General a brilliant legal scholar named Lani Guinier. Lani Guinier was the child of a Jamaican and a Jewish parent, was just a brilliant student, ended up with degrees from Harvard and Yale Law School, and had an amazing, decorated career leading voting rights litigation for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. When she was nominated for Assistant Attorney General, people like me, we paid attention because this role, even though I worked for state government, played a leadership role in all civil rights law enforcement throughout the country. And so after a long period of Republican control, to have someone who was a deep thinker about how to lead differently in the civil rights world was really exciting. And so I paid attention. Professor Guinier talked a lot and wrote a lot about affirmative action, and at that point, as is now, was not a popular thing to do. But the thing that really struck out for me was that she talked a lot about democracy and our electoral system. She argued that our Voting Rights Act, completely necessary, yet stuck in the 1960s, because if you accept a winner-take-all electoral system, the best that you can do is to create, very awkwardly, the so-called majority-minority district. We grew up with this, so it's like old hat to us. Of course, that's the way you do it. You create a district where the minority is a majority because it's a majoritarian system. And so for most of us, it's like, duh, that's what we do. She started to, for me, explode that idea. She argued that, in fact, in order to achieve a multiracial democracy, we need to reject that system. We need to replace it with a system that is built on equity. This, for me, was a truth that I could not unsee. It started to make me question everything that I understood about politics and elections and how to get people elected and to pass legislation. And it was just so agitational. Yet, at that time, outside of work by the leadership of Rob Ritchie and Cynthia Tyrell Ritchie, not a lot of places that were talking about electoral systems change. And so I kind of tucked it in the back of my mind. But as I went through my career and tried to figure out how I pick up this legacy of Lani Guinier to address the needs for deep systems change in order to achieve the promises of our republic and our democracy, there are certain truths that I just can't shake. that are the foundations of this organization, More Equitable Democracy. One truth is that we have an electoral system. I didn't know that. It seems silly to say this now in front of you all, but when you, if you listen to this cool podcast called The Future of Our Former Democracy, they talk about this. It's like you're a fish in water, and if you've only been in a certain tank of water your whole life, you don't think about it. It just is. And so the fact that she started to force me to name the system that we work in, a winner-take-all system, most often called in the US a first-past-the-post system, I was like, what is this? I can't believe you just showed me a mirror, and now I don't even understand who I am. I had to break it down for me to just build up my analysis about what the problems were. And she impressed upon me the idea that if something has been constructed, it can be deconstructed and built again. And that as those of us who care about building a truly multiracial democracy, we have an affirmative responsibility to reimagine systems and ensure that everyone, particularly people of color, have a true seat at the table. Fast forward, as I did organizing, I was invited by a friend of mine, Glenn McPuntai, if you're out there, I miss you. He invited me to join a panel at Harvard Law School with none other than Lani Guinier. I almost could not speak because I was so much in awe of someone who had shaped so much of my analysis and my career. So I was just struck by not only her brilliance in terms of her ideas that she conveyed, but also just the kindness of a person who wanted to know me as someone who was inspired by her work. So it is such an honor and a pleasure for us to lift up the legacy of Lani Guinier really as our North Star for more equitable democracy.